Welcome to Your Family Dog, the podcast where we celebrate the special bond between families and their canine companions. Whether you're a parent, grandparent, considering bringing a furry friend into your family, this show is for you. Each episode, we dive into topics that matter: training tips, health advice, the newest research, heartwarming stories, and expert interviews, both canine and human. Our goal is helping families and dogs grow up together, one episode at a time. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back to the Your Family Dog podcast. We're joining you this episode with part 2 of our awesome interview with Emily Priestley, where we're discussing herding dogs and how to help them be more enriched and fulfilled and happier members of your family. If you haven't listened to part 1, you might want to go back and listen to that bit first. Does scent work kind of scratch a similar itch for them or no?
Yeah, if you scale way, way, way out, scent or the interest of sniffing, things like that is it's not in the predatory sequence necessarily, but it's part of scent, or sort of like part of the predatory sequence where dogs have to, sniff around, they have to find food, they have to, investigate their surroundings to find the prey, to, all of those things. So really it is kind of technically all in the same, bubble. They're all these are natural things, part of dog behavior. They're all like we can call them instincts, I guess, right? Or they're things that are ingrained in the dog. And these dogs love scent work. They love trick training. If you think about what we do with them on a trial field or on in a working capacity, we're asking them to do things on verbal cues. And they're very, very, border collies were bred to, selectively bred for their ability to follow human cues. So they excel at trick training, right? When you look at them as, two different things, really they're the dog following cues given to them by the handler. And border collies, when we call them off of the trial field, we don't have to reward them with a ball or with food. They are rewarded by naturally just by doing the behavior. And what you'll find with a lot of border collies is they are that way, even just following verbal cues. So, Griffin is more than happy to do directional cues that I give him around a ball. He could just take the ball. It's right there. But he is also inherently rewarded by just following the cues. So they pick up on things like trick training very, very easily because they're not like, say, a livestock guardian dog who they're 10 kilometers away from the owner. Those dogs are not bred to follow our cues. Those dogs are doing their own thing. So trick training one of those may not have the same
A
ease.
little more difficult.
But yeah, they tend to do very well in agility and fly ball and scent work and obviously herding and search and rescue and any kind of detection, whether it be bed bug. Now they use them to find bed bugs or human remains in unfortunate situations like that, or explosives and drugs,
or running geese on
running
at
geese. Yep.
airports and
Yep.
at golf courses, so that
Yeah.
the geese aren't laying. Geese return to where they were
Yeah, they're
hatched,
problematic.
and they can absolutely murder a golf course. And
Yes.
so rental border collies to go out on teams and just keep the geese moving so that they're not
Yep.
having new clutches on the golf course is a big thing, or keeping them away from planes at a major airport. Also big important
Yeah.
work that isn't really hurting, but I suppose it's hurting adjacent.
Yeah, they're just a very versatile breed that, when you've worked with them for that long to be responsive to a human, they tend to do pretty pretty well in almost anything that we put them into. it does have some side effects too. Like sometimes we see dogs that are too sound sensitive, or that they're almost too um, upset by what they deem as human, upset. So, if you sneeze or if you act in a way that they think is upsetting, even if you're not, they can be very sensitive to that because
Yes.
again, they're just very in tune to us. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like it's good until it's not, is kind of the
Right.
like,
It's like when we're sensitive, like we don't want to be insensitive, but being so sensitive that you can't really function in the world is an entirely different level of
yeah.
sensitivity that it's no like anything taken to the extreme is probably not great.
So, like, if you can hear me giving you a cue to move around the sheep across a field, that's great. But if you are upset by the sound of the microwave beeping and it sends you into a tizzy and you go and run and hide into the closet, that's bad. But you can see where, oh, it's just like a hair over where it goes
Mhm.
from asset to problem. So, there's a
So
lot of stuff.
that's kind of a really typical um herding dog uh, issue that's reported to me. So let's say somebody has the border collie who's lovely. They really don't have major problems with the dog. The dog integrates well into their life. Somebody, bikes the dog 6 miles a day, so the dog is getting plenty of exercise. Plus the dog is social. They go everywhere, so the dog has, all those dynamics to play with. But then one day the sound of the thermostat on the oven satisfying, that tiny click, sends the dog into the ionosphere. What do you do?
Well, they are genetically prone to issues like sound sensitivity, or this would be like even what I call noise phobia. So, um, some dogs will have sensitive hearing, but these dogs that are they're falling apart because of a ding or a beep or a tick or something like that. That's something that I would call like noise phobic, and as well as, which is a different thing, but compulsive disorders and things like that. These are genetically in our dogs. In many dogs, it's passed down from their ancestors, unfortunately. Um, and so it can be something that is just there because it's there, but usually we'll see that there is some sort of underlying issue as well. So it often has pain as an underlying factor, especially if your dog never did it before and now is all of a sudden doing it. And this is true for both sound sensitivity and compulsive disorders. Um, Often we see a lot of punishment around these things as well. So people will get frustrated with their dog. If their dog is, say, compulsively chasing lights and shadows, it can get annoying. So people like, hey, knock it off, go to your bed, like that sort of thing. People get really frustrated by it. Um, and so the dogs then have stress, so they actually end up doing it even more. And so the number one thing with dogs who are doing this in any circumstance is that they really have to be checked out by a vet. So the first stop is not a trainer. It
Right.
would be a vet. And what we're doing there is ruling out anything that could be making that worse. So pain, medical, like stomach
Thyroid.
problems, dental pain,
Right.
skin issues, ear infections, things like that. Um, Medications can help a lot. So we do have medications now on the market that are specifically for sound sensitive dogs. And so great for dogs who are scared of thunder, and fireworks, things like that. And
Which med are you thinking of?
Sileo, which is now
Yeah, I
available
was
in
gonna
Canada and it's available in the United States, and
yeah,
it's a fast acting drug. So a lot of the medications that we would use for these dogs with noise phobia,
would give them
um,
the would give them relief after the storm was over.
Yeah, they take, you might get relief an hour into the dosing. So, when we have a dog who is, falling apart because the thunder came through, by the time the medication is working, we're an hour in, and most of those dogs then aren't going to get as much benefit, right? Because it's like, the medication's not going to bring down all of that existing stress. So Sileo is fast acting, right? Here comes that thunderstorm that they didn't predict on the Weather Channel. It's intermucosal, so you rub it on the gum and it goes directly into their like it's very fast acting, but it is calming without being sedating. So it's great for those dogs where the goal with those medications is never to like knock them out. We want
Right.
them to be calmer. And so Sileo does, that's what it does. But we really want to start to make sure that there's no underlying issue. And then we can come in with training and management and things like that to help these dogs through that. So the big thing to remember is if you're, at home and you're listening, if your dog is doing these things, sometimes we think, oh, it's normal in a border collie because it's very, very common. But common in a breed is not
normal. Right. Just because a breed is prone to it.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that it's okay and we just live with it. Like, because that
German
is
Shepherds
genuine.
are prone to hip dysplasia. It's not okay that the dog has that. So,
and it's genuine suffering, right? I think that for especially having worked with families with dogs for a really long time, sometimes it hurts my heart, the suffering that goes on because somebody says, well, he's always blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, okay, but it's not okay. Like there's a lot we can do to help that animal to have a better quality of life.
Well, and sometimes, this is the problem with border collies, and why I started kind of specializing and working with them is normal behavior. So things like, I need a lot of exercise in a day, and if I don't get that, I'm a little bit squirrely. Those things tend to be hard to live with, so we look at them as behavior problems, but really they're very normal. And then on the flip side, things that are not okay get looked at as normal. So things like compulsive disorder. When we have dogs who are light and shadow chasing, that's usually because there's an underlying, issue that's triggering some sort of genetic behavior there. And it really is a way of the dog coping with something that is bothering them. So they're coping with stress. They're coping with pain. It's almost like a zoo animal that's pacing back and forth in the cage. It's a way of trying to relieve some of that worry or that stress or that pain. But very often owners will say, oh, look at him. He's just hurting the lights. He's doing that because he's a border collie. It's not hurting. It's actually, again, it's the sign that there's something not quite right there, that the dog is struggling.
Stressed.
Some of them will do it and it's, mostly okay, right? Like some of them will do it and it won't cause any kind of issue. Some of them will do it to the point where they will forgo eating, drinking, sleeping, basic needs. They will become aggressive if you interrupt them. I've heard of people waking up at 3 a.m. and the dog is performing the behavior in the dark in the room. That is not typical. That's not okay. And it's, the sign of a big, big problem. So anytime that you have your dog and you're worried that, they seem anxious or they seem fearful or they seem, I can't get a text message without my dog, erupting into panic, or they seem like they're, chasing flies that don't exist. That is always number one. We go to the veterinarian and we get them checked out. Those things always require a vet first, and they always require a vet's diagnosis. So trainers, myself, I'm a certified dog behavior consultant, and I'm a certified trainer as well. We do not have the ability to diagnose anxiety, compulsive disorder, even sound, noise phobia. These things have to be ruled out first, and the diagnosis comes from a vet. So if you're listening at home and you've been told by a trainer your dog is suffering from anxiety and they haven't sent you to the vet, we need to backpedal and we need to get to the vet. ASAP, because
Yes,
there's
and I
very
would say
likely something going on for that dog.
that it's one of my pet peeves when new trainers are kind of out of their lane. I'm like, "Hey, hey, hey,
Yeah.
hey, we gotta do the
It's
we gotta loop the
malpractice.
we need to loop the vet in on this, right?
Yes.
The vet knows things that you don't know and that I don't know. Do we know things the vet doesn't know? Probably, right?
Yeah.
Um, and getting that dog checked out. I mean, I do see a lot of families that get really frustrated that they go to the vet and the vet just kind of goes, "Yep, dogs do that
Mhm.
sometimes."
Yeah.
And so, in a perfect world, we would all have awesome vets to go to who
I
get curious
know.
and dig in. So I do understand why some trainers sometimes just they're like, you should go to a vet, but they're also like, you may find out that there's not anything your vet identifies. Pain in particular, I see a lot of dogs being masking pain well enough that it can be very difficult for a veterinarian to
Yeah.
realize, especially chronic pain. Acute pain is a different thing, but when it's chronic pain, it's a different animal. And so it often takes a veterinarian who's more experienced.
It
Who's
does,
just watched for a long
or
time.
I think we, as owners, and I felt this before, we feel like when we go to the vet, we just have to, blindly kind of listen to whatever they suggest. It's okay to say to your vet, I would like blood work. I would like sedated x-rays. I would like a sedated exam. Sometimes when we go in and they do a nose to tail assessment of the dog and they look the dog over, if you've ever had pain, you'll know that exam on you may not find what's going on for you. And it's okay to say to the vet that those are things that you want to do. And most vets are more than happy to do that. And so have a chat with your vet. If you're somebody who is, you're listening to this and it's resonating for you, feel free to ask your vet for that. And also feel free to get a second opinion. You're more than welcome to
Absolutely.
go to another vet. I think for the most part, most vets are pretty accommodating and are happy to help.
Mhm.
We can't get, say, like an anxiety diagnosis until we make sure that it's not just that there's
A
a
bad
cracked
tooth.
tooth. Maybe
Right.
there's an ear infection deep down in there that we didn't know. Those things can present in a similar way.
Mhm.
And like you say, with pain, it doesn't always show the way that we think. Dogs won't always just yelp and like limp around
Right.
because they're painful. Often they might just seem a little bit more cranky when they're on their bed at night, or they might be more reluctant to jump up into the car at the end of the walk. You may not notice those things in your home, and they may just, something might come up on those X-rays, and I think it's money well spent.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes. And even things like checking thyroid,
Yeah.
right?
Thyroid,
When
for senior dogs, I've got two. These guys really need to start getting to the vet, for those checkups and, getting checked over and making sure that everything is tickety-boo because, anything can kind of creep up. Arthritis is very, very common. And, like most of the dogs that we got into the shelter that were, say, 7 and up, most of them had something that needed to be addressed that hadn't been addressed. So I know sometimes it is daunting when you have a border collie or you have a cattle dog who doesn't like to be handled, but call your vet ahead of time. Let them know that that's the situation you're in. And most vets these days have ways around that to be able to do low stress handling and things like that to make sure that your dog is cared for and happy and they can examine them and find what's going on.
I mean, honestly, a lot of times with dog stuff, people want me to fix things that are normal, healthy. They want me to fix
Mhm.
normal, healthy dog behaviors.
Yes. 100%.
And sometimes get myself into an ethical dilemma about that because it would
Yeah.
be like I don't know, someone being angry at me for not being tall enough.
Yeah, which is why, like, when we were talking about those dogs and, like, being happy and excited dog behavior, so, like, bouncy and, like, not listening and, like, eager and all of those things and, like, maybe not listening to the handler very well and, like, they're packaged as a behavior problem. And it would be like saying, like, and people do all of this, like, they have to be calm. We want them to be calm. We want them, teach them calm, teach them, like, to chill out in that moment. Can you imagine, like, being a kid going to the park and you're, like, excited and you're, like, running around with your friends and you're all of these things, and then it's like, "Oh, well, they're too obsessive about the park," or they're too, like, you have to go to the park and sit down, you're not allowed to move. Like, that's what we do to dogs all the time. Is like you know, we, like, demonize normal, like, every behavior problem in a home is normal dog behavior, really, unless you're, like, compulsive dogs or, like, whatever,
Right.
but, like, counter surfing, garbage, getting in the garbage, chewing the shoes, peeing on the floor, jumping up on guests because they're excited, like, they're all normal dog behaviors.
I do a lot of saying that your dog will show you what enrichment they crave,
Yes, like,
right? Like the dog who is digging through your trash can would like more scatter games.
exactly. But this is where, like, when I was talking about how people will say, like, the dog is hurting, so we have to stop them from hurting. It's like when your dog is getting into the garbage and you suggest scatter games, people are like, "Well, I don't want them to," or I'll say, like, leave if your dog is counter surfing, leave bones along like, along the front of the counter so that they can find those instead. Oh, well, I don't want to encourage them to be a scavenger, but it's like they were, like, it's in their DNA.
They are
We
scavengers.
cannot take it out of them. And if you give them legal outlets, they're actually less likely to do it in problematic ways.
How many of your programs as I told you, I just signed up for one of your online courses. The what kind of online courses do you have? Are they geared toward families? Are they geared toward other trainers? Or like who is your target market?
Yeah, I do both. So I do teach trainers. I have a reactivity course for them and a class about how to do virtual sessions because, that can be a little bit clunky if you haven't kind of figured
It
out
can,
the flow for it.
absolutely.
Um, And then I also do webinars that are geared to both trainers and to pet guardians. I am a firm believer that our guardians are able to, rise up and take in the information
Right.
and everything that we're presenting. I know some trainers, like, kind of like, um, I don't know, like, I guess look down on the client a little bit, like the client isn't capable of that level of, and I disagree. I think, most of the clients that I work with, they can come into those webinars. Trainers can take away things, and also the pet guardians can. So I like to teach those to both. And then I also do online programs for, like we talked about the dry herding, which is fun. That's sort of trick training. But then I also do online programs for reactivity. And so class, like, kind of group class, for reactivity where guardians can come in. And again, I start from day one with them, teaching them exactly what reactivity is, what it isn't, what they want to look for, and then how to work on it, how not to work on it. And I guide them through that over the course of 3 weeks. And I sort of make them into mini trainers themselves, and
Right.
give them the tools and empower them to see this is what's going on for your dog, and this is how we can fix it. And
Yeah.
so those are all things I'm just really passionate about. I love working with clients, and I also love working with trainers and helping them as well because, I could do a few clients a day, or I could teach other trainers how to improve their practice, and then we're helping even more dogs. So, um, yeah, it's a fun sort of lineup, I guess, if you will.
Okay, so my last question is a weird one. What is the weirdest thing your dog has ever attempted to eat?
Oh, you You picked a good one. I don't know if you saw my Instagram account a few days ago, but my dog Mozzie, my cattle dog, she's at my feet sleeping right now. Mozzie, just a little backstory. She has the best recall. Recall is another thing that I love to teach. I have an ebook on my website. $10 teaches you how to train like a stellar recall for your dog. This dog, if she doesn't recall right away, when I call her, I know there's a problem. She's always, as soon as I call, she comes. The other day we were out, running around the property as we do, and she wasn't there, and she's always there. So I called her and she didn't come back, which she always does. And I was getting, more and more sort of worried because like I was really calling her and she wasn't coming. And then all of a sudden she sort of like popped out of the bushes, and I was like, that's like, she's been in the bushes this whole time, like something that's not right. And then the next day we went out and I noticed she kind of tootled over and was like making a break to go back into the same part of the bushes. And I was like, there's something going on here. So I said, okay, like, let's go see. And she took me to her
The good
prize.
news is they will tell on themselves.
Yes, Griffin, when he was young, I could always tell when he had been naughty, and I would say, "Show me what you did," and he would happily take me to show me
He's like,
the toilet paper roll. Look, I
right.
shredded the toilet paper roll again, or look what I found on the counter when I was counter surfing. Like, he would always sort of tell on himself. But Mozzie led me into the bushes, and I'll spare too many details, but I live in a very rural area and lots of people have backyard chickens and we have farms and things like that.
Oh,
We also have a lot of eagles and ravens who hunt the uh, chickens. If you're not careful, they will come and they will
right.
or birds. And so one must have caught one, sort of eaten it, and then dropped its leftovers down from the tree. So they were in the bushes, the sort of like gaggle of remains with
Ugh.
various levels of breakdown and insects. I'm trying not to like
It
weird
was
out
as
your
gross
listener.
as we could all imagine.
It could not have been more gross. And so Mozzie was like, if I think back, she was in there for a good 5 minutes that one day, just eating that like it was a
Caviar.
Sunday roast. Yep. And people say like, well, are you worried about diarrhea or are you worried about, no, this girl has an iron stomach and she can literally, I swear she could eat like a tin can and be okay. So, no harm, no foul, but, she got a great snack. So we've moved the remains on and they won't be bothering us anymore, but there really isn't anything they won't eat, to be honest with you. Like we live on a farm, so all kinds of animal poo, deer poo. She'll eat chicken feed if she can get into it. They'll eat I've Griffin, when he was a pup, swallowed a mouse hole. Mozzie found a deceased deer one day and was eating that before I found her. So yeah, it's been bad.
I think one of my favorites was a client sent me a photo without a warning. I do ask now that they warned me before they
Yeah.
text me photos because I could be at dinner, but their dog had eaten a giant box of sparkly crayons.
Oh no. Okay, that's a
And so the
colorful.
and so the poop was equal parts disgusting and awesome. It
No
was like
doubt.
it
It's
was like a unicorn had pooped. It was amazing,
oh
right?
my
But
gosh.
it was she was
I would take
and
that over the chicken
exact
carcass.
over the carcasses, yeah. But it was super cute. She sent me this amazing poop and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is great."
Yeah.
But
Mozzie
yeah, I
actually
get
got a few weeks ago, unfortunately a bird must have hit our window. It was about a
oh,
robin-sized bird, and Mozzie went outside and she's a 30 for context, 32 pounds. So she's not a big dog. And she grabbed this dead bird, the entirety of it. So tail, wings, everything. And before I could even think, she swallowed it whole. And I swear Australian dogs are built different. Like, I didn't think she would get it down, but it just slid right down. And yeah, again, no hiccups, nothing. I was like, what happens to all of these feathers? Like, where do what's going to happen here? And she was fine. She was more than happy with her little prize. So
Yes, they're often delighted
she's
by
lucky
the
she's cute.
contraband.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
Zandy
you
was
so much.
absolutely right. You're a fantastic guest to have on the
Well, thank
show.
you. I
Um,
appreciate that.
and I bet all of our herding breed people are going to be over the moon excited to
I hope
have
so.
another resource to add to their quiver.
Thank you so much for having me on. And
I'm so glad you came on. And
thank you.
so
You
have a
too.
wonderful rest of your day.
You too. And I will talk to you next time.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for spending part of your precious day with us. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to follow, rate, subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media or email us at yourfamilydogpodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you soon.